Leadership, a simple concept that moves the world, writes history, and drives the lives of millions of people around the world. This is a story that celebrates our leadership and makes us proud of who we are. Today, Latino Leaders Magazine crosses the path of the same leaders we've been interviewing for more than 18 years, making all of us that work at Latino Leaders Magazine proud of our past and excited about our future. Latino Leaders Magazine is confident that we will continue to inspire the leaders that will write the future pages of our history. We have witnessed the enormous potential and value of Latino leaders. Now, Latino Leaders Magazine wants to continue to serve them by connecting these leaders and thus inspiring the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine, Mr. Jorge Ferraiz.
Good evening and welcome to the 2023 Maestro Awards in Chicago. Me and my team at Latino Leaders Magazine are very proud to present this recognition to 4 outstanding leaders in this beautiful, windy city. As usual, I want to thank our sponsors tonight, Southwest Airlines, San Agustin College, JP Morgan Chase & Company, and Intercambio Express. Thanks to them and their support, this event is made possible. I also want to thank the support of BMO, Monterey Security, and ASI. We're ready to enjoy and present to you 4 outstanding leadership stories that are full of pride and success. So welcome again, and thank you for being with us.
At Southwest Airlines, it's always been about heart. It's about loving people, about putting others first. It's about building resilience through connections that last, because distance shouldn't keep us from being neighbors. It's about living responsibly and doing things the Southwest way. We believe the act of connecting can make the world feel a bit smaller and the future a little brighter. And it all starts with heart.
Jorge, thank you for bringing us together this evening. You and your team connect leaders and inspire others through your publications and events. And to this year's awards recipients, congratulations! Tonight, we celebrate you, your service to our communities, and your many accomplishments. I'm Laura Nieto, and I serve as the Managing Director of Corporate Responsibility at Southwest Airlines. At Southwest, we believe in loving people, building resilience, and living responsibly by investing in diverse partnerships and programs that help accelerate social, environmental, and economic advancement in our communities. Through our longstanding partnership with Latino Leaders Magazine, we've been able to see firsthand how the power of celebrating Latino success stories can inspire the next generation of leaders. Tonight, I'm honored to recognize Mr. Juan Salgado, Chancellor of City Colleges of Chicago, where he oversees Chicago's community college system, serving more than 60,000 students across 7 colleges, 75% of whom are Black and Latinx students. Chancellor Salgado is a decorated leader who has dedicated his career to improving education and economic opportunities for residents in low-income communities. Under his leadership at City Colleges of Chicago, Chancellor Salgado launched Fresh Start, a first-ever debt forgiveness program, completed 2 new state-of-the-art facilities, and developed campus-specific plans focused on equity in student outcomes. Chancellor Salgado has been nationally recognized for his work, including being named a MacArthur Fellow. On behalf of our more than 61,000 Southwest Airlines employees, it is my privilege to present the Maestro Award for Leadership to Chancellor Salgado. Congratulations.
The Chicago Maestro Award 2023 in the category of leadership is being presented to Juan Salgado, an impressive story of a man with a passion for education and knowing how to make it more efficient for everyone. Congratulations.
Good afternoon, Chicago.
My father's from Michoacán, Mexico,
My mother's from El Estado de Mexico. I grew up with my grandparents, my parents, my 3 older sisters, my older brother, and my younger sister. So we had a full home and a vibrant home, one that was, full of people that cared for you. I'm the 5th of 6th, and so you can imagine that as one of the younger children, I had, abuelita, madre, 3 older sisters, ¿verdad? Mucha gente que me quería, right? So the first thing I can say about growing up is I had a lot of love. I had a lot of care. I had a lot of nurturing, okay? And that's extremely important. When I think about the education of our young people, I think about every child should have a level of love, care, and nurturing, that I was able to have. I grew up in the southern part of the city, just outside the city, a little community called Calumet Park. It's actually where my grandfather settled in 1918. He was a railroad worker. My dad was a steel worker. And so my community was a working class community, if you will. Very small, modest homes that people can own a home. They can live in a home, and they can get a piece of the American dream. I grew up in a community that went through change. Quite frankly, the community was a white community that became a black community. We always had a Latino presence in that neighborhood, if you will. There was a Spanish Mass. We attended Spanish Mass, but it was quite small. The community was, saw this transition, and I lived through that transition. I think that formed me too, as a human being, right? When you see what we traditionally now call as white flight, right? You understand that there are layers of, racism. There's our layers of fear that exist in society. There are economic forces, that help drive all of that as well. And so as a young person observing all of that, I think it had a profound impact on me, and quite frankly, where I'm at today. As a human being, you start asking yourself lots of questions. Why is this the way it is? Yeah, and that leads you to, wanting to make the world a lot different than what I perhaps saw when I was young and growing up. The first and most important is to make sure that everyone knows who our students really are. Their brand, their persona, right? And let's be clear, our students are among the most innovative, creative, entrepreneurial, talented, gifted people that we have in our higher education system, period. Okay? Our students are able to persist and thrive in their education while they deal with the fact that they are oftentimes caregivers. Their income is critical to the family well-being in many instances, and yet they're dealing with a whole host of challenges on a day-to-day basis, right? Food insecurity, in some cases housing insecurity. So these are the students that are not just excelling academically, right, but doing so against many, many odds, right? And so when you have those kinds of human beings, you have, something special in every one of them. We want to make sure that whether you're an employer, you're a four-year university, you're any stakeholder out there, you see, the real value of not just a community college education, but that community college student, right, and what they bring. So number one, and that is to changing the perception and the brand, okay? In many instances, years back, I was a community college graduate myself. I can remember the stigma, that was placed on community colleges. Education can be a very elitist, institution or set of institutions, right? And so who are the best and brightest? Who are the strongest among us? Well, I would posit that it's our students that are the strongest among us. that are positioned best to contribute to society and societal well-being. And so making sure we do that, number one, that should lead with good academic programming, that's aligned to opportunities in the marketplace. That should lead to greater hiring of our students and better economic opportunities for our students. And we're pleased with that, right? So that's area number two. And area number three is we should be starting very early, okay? So, what does that mean? That means we as a community college should be partnering, to the greatest level possible with our K through 12 public school system, right? There should be no space in between us. Everything that we do, we should be doing in service of those students and those families that are in our public school systems today, so they can take advantage of college earlier, right? So that we can be of service to the parents who may want to learn English or get their GED, right? So that we can ensure that students that may not have a whole lot of resources have a pathway in order to get to and through their higher education. And so we are doing that today. We are working very closely. We probably have one of the best relationships between a K through 12 district and a community college district that exists in the country. I have 3 children. They all have diverse interests, and I join in on them. I'm sort of like a little kid. If we're sitting outside my backyard, you might see me jumping on a trampoline for a couple hours with one kid. You might see me playing basketball with another kid. You might see me watching Netflix. The favorite Netflix show that my daughter wants to watch together with her. And so, a variety of different things. My wife is extremely involved in the arts, in culture, in danza, and in the church. So you'll see me supporting, her engagement and our family's involvement, whether it's in the choir, or in the kermés, right? Or in the, Sunday gatherings. So, it's family life. It's the kind of life I grew up in, right? Making sure that, whatever we do in life, that gift that was given to us, which is the love and care and nurturing, the normal family life, right? That I was able to have, enjoy, and, be nurtured from, that I deliver that to the next generation in the hopes that they deliver that to the next. Whatever we do, we must do that. It's our first responsibility, but it's a joyful one, right? It's probably the most joyful thing that we do in life, is to be with family and to enjoy that fully.
We should all feel confident about our future, and if anyone doesn't feel this way, we take it personally. At JP Morgan Chase, we're doing the work to advance Hispanic and Latino communities globally. Advancing Hispanics and Latinos opens doors for our communities everywhere. It celebrates who we are, our rich history, and our futuro. To do this, we go beyond words. Over 50% of our new U.S. hires are racially or ethnically diverse. We're providing the Hispanic and Latino community with programs to gain financial health y mucho más, offering resources to make home ownership and banking more accessible to the Hispanic and Latino community, and providing more business education and coaching to Hispanic and Latino entrepreneurs. We do the work to help build careers, financial independence, the entrepreneurial spirit, and stronger communities. Real change for the Hispanic and Latino community takes intentional work and commitment from all of us. Advancing Hispanics and Latinos is proud to be doing the work, because this is personal.
Hola a todos. I am Silvana Montenegro, Global Head of Advancing Hispanics and Latinos at JP Morgan Chase. I am thrilled to present this award in partnership with Latino Leaders Magazine to Elizabeth Colon. Elizabeth is the president and founder of Metaphrases Language and Cultural Solutions. She has built a successful business that provides high-quality interpreting and translation services to a diverse range of clients. As a community leader, Elizabeth has held various positions of influence and responsibility, including serving as the first Latina president of the National Association of Women's Business Owners, Chicago chapter, and as the board chair of the Humboldt Park Health Foundation. At JP Morgan Chase, we are committed to promoting the growth and success of Hispanic and Latino communities across the globe by promoting pathways to career development, wealth building, business growth, and community development. With our dedication to diversity, equity, and inclusion, JP Morgan Chase is proud to present this award to Elizabeth Colon for her dedication to advancing health equity and promoting the interests of women and underrepresented groups. Congratulations again, and thank you for all you do.
The Maestro Award in Chicago 2023 in the category of Professional Achievement is being presented to Elizabeth Colon, a leader with a long story of professional success with a human focus. Congratulations.
So I am the daughter of parents who migrated from Puerto Rico in the 1950s, and I'm one of 6 children. Interesting, we have 5 sisters and 1 brother. My parents really wanted a boy, and they were not going to stop until they got that boy, and he was number 6, thankfully. And we grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was born and raised in Chicago, and my father owned a local mom and pop grocery store after spending many years in the manufacturing company. We lived in a beautiful 2-flat apartment with my grandmother, mi abuelita, who lived with us for a very long time until she passed away. I was pretty much the most outgoing, for sure, in my family. I spoke a lot. I was very vocal, and I think sometimes I got myself into a lot of trouble because of that. But I do remember that my ambitions for the future was going into medicine. Growing up, when I lived in Puerto Rico for a few years, my grandfather got very ill. And in Puerto Rico, like, the healthcare system is not like it is here in the United States. And I remember we had to take our blankets and our own pillows, and we actually had to tend to our family members. So I remember taking care of my grandfather, and he had a trach at the time, and I had to clean it, and I was like 9, 10 years old. And I fell in love with healthcare, and I wanted to help people, and I wanted to go into medicine. So that was kind of the trajectory that I had chosen for myself. And then I ended up going to nursing school. Late in the years, I didn't quite go into nursing right away, but I did start working at a hospital, okay? And I decided I wanted to go to nursing school to then eventually go into becoming a medical doctor. My dream job was to become an ER physician because I was really fast-paced. I love excitement. I'm very spontaneous, and I wanted to just be in a very fast-paced environment. But life had different plans for me, and so I didn't end up being a doctor, but I ended up being an entrepreneur instead. You know, my father didn't read or write, and he only had a 2nd grade education. And I remembered all the time that when I used to go to the store after school, he was always reading the Sun-Times newspaper. And he would, what I believe was reading, right? And I may be wrong because he didn't read or write, but he always looked at the Sun-Times newspaper. And he was self-teaching himself something. And that's what made him be a successful business owner, right? And when I saw that, I was like, wow, if my father and my parents too can migrate from Puerto Rico to Chicago with a 2nd grade education, with very little money in their pockets, and create something big, why can't we do that as well? And for me, that was a big learning lesson. And although I didn't become a physician, which is what I wanted to do, I've always stayed very connected to healthcare. Part of what I do in my business is healthcare related, and the work that I do as a previous board member for Humboldt Park Health is another way of doing it. So that's kind of my way of staying connected to the things that I really love the most. But more importantly, giving the chances that we got regardless that it was government assistance or not, I lived in a community that treated us well, right? And they were there for us. So I felt also an obligation and commitment to do the same for others by joining the board or creating my business. And my business came out of an idea that I had. I was working in nonprofit for 7-8 years, and I outgrew the position. I felt like there was nothing more that I could do for the organization. There was no room for growth. And I knew that the meaning of voice, like having a voice, was very important to me. And I say that because my parents didn't speak English. And so oftentimes as children, we were also the ones that accompanied them to appointments. So we were like the child interpreter. So imagine being 8, 9, 10 years old in a position to interpret for your parents when you don't even understand the vocabulary yourself, right? And that was very scary for all of us. But at the same token, I have 2 sisters. My 2 eldest sisters, Sonia and Lucy, are deaf, okay? And they were at a big disadvantage simply because when they were in school, they were ignored. And they didn't have an opportunity to fully develop themselves. Till this day, I feel like they have a big disconnect with the world around them. And that's hurtful because when you're at home with your sisters and your parents and we're sitting at the table and we're all talking and laughter, you always had 2 sisters that didn't hear a thing. And you know, you feel that. And so I wanted to solve that problem, and that's how I ended up creating my business, which is an interpreting and translation company, because I wanted to ensure that patients, when they went into the hospital, had an interpreter, not just a interpreter, a qualified interpreter. And people who were deaf, that they have an American Sign Language interpreter. And I wanted to be an advocate for people who couldn't speak for themselves. I'm married to a wonderful my husband, Edwin Rivera. He's my second husband. So we have a blended family of 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. The boys are mine, the girls are his. I have a 30-year-old who's a pilot, which makes me very proud. And then my 10-year-old who is a basketball player at a university on a scholarship. And together, you know, we do traveling. We love to travel. And that's one of the things I want to do before I reach a certain age. And if it's not traveling, I do give a lot of my time back to the community. I have been on board for 14 years with Humboldt Park Health, their foundation department, where I've supported their initiatives to raise money for programs and services that influences the community. And that to me brings me a lot of joy because although I wasn't raised in Humboldt Park, I was raised in a community similar to it. And that's my way of giving back. And I really have a lot of great times at the hospital and with the foundation, like doing their annual gala and raising money and looking at the end of the day, like seeing certain things that are happening within the hospital. So right now we're raising money for a wellness center, which is a 45,000 square foot facility that's going to open up next year. It's a historical moment for the community. It's the first of its kind. And so for me to be able to give up some of my free time and work on that project brings me a lot of satisfaction. So when I'm 80 years old, I hope to walk down to Vision in Richmond and say I had something to do with that building being risen. And then other things I do is I get together with my family. I love to read. And so whenever I have some quiet time, I just sit on my sofa and read books. Otherwise, you'll see me on a plane traveling. I like to also thank my Metafrosis team. We are small but mighty. I have Rosemary Woolley, who's my vice president, who's been with me for 13 amazing years. And then I have Alexis Matias, who joined me a little bit over a year, but they're my rock star. They keep my office running to allow me to be here with you today. And they just keep on going. I'm really grateful to have them on my team right now. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you.
Intercambio Express, as a Latino-owned company, is very proud to be partnered with the Maestros. This remarkable event highlights that as Latinos, we do our very best and work very hard for our accomplishments. The Maestros do an amazing job of recognizing those accomplishments and celebrating the Latino leaders in our community. Seeing those being recognized gives me hope for the future, knowing that our Latino community is in great hands. Felicidades a todos los premiados y recuerden, el que no arriesga, no gana.
The Maestro Award 2023 in Chicago in the category of entrepreneurship is being presented to Juan Gaitan, an impressive story of an entrepreneur. A police officer turned into a very successful business owner. Congratulations.
It is exciting at this point in my life to look back a little bit. I'm still relatively young, but it is exciting now to kind of see what we've been able to do over the last almost 25 years. So it's exciting. We grew up here in Pilsen. I'm a family of 7. My mom and dad were born in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. So that's why I named the company Monterrey Security. So we're born here in Pilsen, predominantly Latino community. And just from the onset, our parents said, listen, you're born in the United States, you're American, be proud of being American. However, people will look at you and say, who is this Mexicano? Who is this Mexican person that may look a little different, may talk a little different? And from an early age, they told us that is just part of the way the world is. It's not fair. You can work really hard, do everything right, and things don't go the way as planned. And so for that, it sounds really simple, but I think that kind of lesson early on to 7 first-generation Mexican Americans was very important for us, because you can go living life going, oh my goodness, people treat me this way, they treat me that way. And we sort of expected that. And, you know, you had to get up a little bit earlier. You had to stay a little bit later. We had to do things a little bit differently. But it was something that I think our parents did for all of us that helped all of my brothers and sisters become, you know, relatively successful in their own right. My father was very big on education. There wasn't Google back then, so we had the Encyclopedia Britannica to look at what the statistics were for young Latino men that didn't continue in higher education from, you know, 18 to 25. He would just have these articles and say, hey, this is what you need to do, mijo, otherwise you're going to be down a bad path. And of course, as his oldest son, I finished after 1 year of higher education and broke his heart, right? He was like, oh my goodness, my son is not going to continue his education. I went right into the police department. And that was really the driver. My father passed away right before I started the business. And I think that kind of insecurity in the back of my mind of not continuing and finishing my education was kind of the driver for me to say, hey, I don't want to let him down or my community down. I do not want to be a statistic. I've got to keep going. And I think to some degree, that is what helped me, and still till this day, deal with that insecurity of not finishing school the right way, helped me persevere in my line of work. I grew up in this community that I was explaining to you, and I think it's difficult at times. Your interaction with the police, it's not always positive. You don't call the police to come over for your birthday party. You call them over because something is going on. And when they arrive, they might not have the right training. They might not have the right cultural sensitivity to what's going on there. So there was a lot of negative interactions that we had with the police. And I thought if I become a police officer, I could, in my own way, and even if it was just my community, not the country or the world, affect it differently. So when I would interact with people that looked like me, that sounded like me, that looked a little different, that I could approach them differently. And perhaps the officers that I was working with would see that there was a different way to police. And I think that's what drove me to become somebody in public safety. You know, I have a sister who was a police officer, just retired. I have a brother who was with the Cook County Sheriff's Department, and another brother right after 9/11 joined the Marine Corps. So it's really funny how our family kind of went into public service, and I really enjoyed it for many, many years. But at a certain point in my life and my career, I started to work part-time, moonlighting as a security officer when I was done with the police department. And I saw a ton of opportunities there and said, hey, I think I can give people that look like me, and there's a lot of African-American black folks on the south and west side of Chicago, Latinos on the south and west side of Chicago, and I said, if I could give them an opportunity to work in the security industry, where typically they were not given an opportunity, I think I can do something different, a little more unique, create a little niche market for myself. So when I started the business, I said to myself, I want to provide security and safety and guest services in areas that I grew up feeling unwelcomed. And perhaps I can do that and then have people from our community work at these venues. And fortunately enough, through our years, we started providing security at our Adler Planetarium, the Shedd Aquarium, museums. We were lucky enough to be awarded Soldier Field, Navy Pier, Lincoln Park Zoo, things like that, Millennium Park. And that's where I really started to bring people from all different communities to work there. So not only were they exposed to different parts of our community that were beautiful, but now the people that work there could see, hey, Latinos and African Americans can come and provide a great service, and they're so close. They're 5 minutes from it, where typically they would have probably said, no, we're not hiring right now, whatever the case may be. And I think that has been the secret sauce for our company, is providing people that work from within the communities that we serve. We're here in Pilsen. We know there's huge national companies that are working in the Chicagoland area, but we stay in our community so that way it's easier for people to come and apply. We do everything online, but sometimes people just want to come in here. And it's nice when they come in through the front door and they see the receptionist that looks like them or sounds like them and says, hey, how do you fill out an application? What's the opportunity about? And I think that's been our secret sauce, is being able to recruit people from certain communities. And now we have a ton of success stories where you have, Latinos, African Americans that are now police officers that started with us. And now there's a pathway for them. Like, hey, I can do the same thing that Juan did 20-something years ago when I was a youngster. And then for some of the folks that security or law enforcement's not for them, they go into the hospitality industry, right? All of our luxurious hotels, everything like that, they can show that they've worked here in providing services like that. 20 plus years of trying to run this organization wasn't pretty healthy. And if you look around, there's a couple of pictures. I'm at least 100 pounds heavier in a lot of these pictures. Those early years, I wasn't around for my daughters, and that was really weighing on me over time. And I said, hey, I've got to balance some of that. How do I spend time with them, time on myself? I have a wonderful family, some brothers and sisters that are working with me, talented people that have helped us grow this company. And so over the last couple of years, I've tried to create a balance, helping civic organizations, my own personal time with my family, trying to learn the game of golf, which is easier said than done, traveling around the world too. I would travel around the world for work, but now I want to travel around the world hiking. I went to Africa, Europe, you name it. It's just been something for me to say, hey, trying to live the fullest life that I can. At this point in my life, I'm trying to at least understand what I've been able to do, understand what my parents have tried to teach us when we were younger, and try to leave something behind, try to help some folks, give a hand up. I mean, our folks are not looking for handouts, they're just looking for somebody to push a door open like they did for me. So I think I'm trying to purposefully do that, and it's exciting. It's exciting. I feel like I'm just getting started, and I wish, obviously, and you've heard this a ton of times, what I knew now, what I should have known back then. But it's part of your journey. And I think I'm growing as a person. I feel like I'm just at the best part of my life of understanding maturity as a 50-year-old, 53-year-old actually yesterday. So it's an exciting time that I'm finally feeling aware of who I am, what impact I've created. And so I want to continue down that path, and hopefully my daughters will help me along the way.
Are you ready to redefine your future? At St. Augustine College, supporting students is our #1 priority. We focus on providing an education that works with your life, from small class sizes to flexible schedules, debt-free graduations, and one-on-one support. We are committed to helping you discover and develop your talents to achieve your career goals through an education that makes you proud. See what's possible at St. Augustine College.
Felicidades, Maestros. Congratulations to all the Maestros and Maestras. My name is Reyes Gonzalez president of San Agustin College. San Agustin is the only college whose mission is the advancement of Latinos. At San Agustin, we focus on transforming the family lives by providing our graduates with hope, inspiration, and the opportunity for a better life. For over 10 years, San Agustin has partnered with Jorge Ferraiz and Latino leaders to identify and promote Latino leadership. Today, it is my distinct honor to present an icon in our community. I believe that her transformative leadership is part of her DNA. Her father, David Cerda, was the first Latino appellate justice in Illinois and a pioneer in advocating for Latinos and transforming the legal justice system. Her mother, Maria Cerda, was an activist and a leader who continuously fought for the underserved and women in our community and helped develop other Latino leaders. Being the daughter of a Mexican father and a Puerto Rican mother, she has always fought for the less fortunate. She has brought transformative change to the healthcare system, businesses, and government policy. Now, as CEO of ASI, she's also transforming the delivery system of services for the most needed. It is an honor and a privilege to present an extraordinary maestra who continues to change the life of many in our community through her transformative leadership, dedication, and commitment. Acompáñenme a darle la bienvenida a una de las nuestras, la abogada Marta Cerda.
The Maestro Award in Chicago, in the category of Community Service in 2023, is being presented to Marta Cerda, a social businesswoman with family values and a great determination for success. Congratulations.
My father is from Jalisco and Michoacan, and my mother is from Lares, Puerto Rico. So I am both Mexican and Puerto Rican, and I grew up in predominantly Jewish and then African American community. So that is a huge part of my childhood and my background. Is diversity and being multicultural, which I love, which brought to me a huge passion for my community and helping us to break barriers and grow. And that really comes from my background and my upbringing. My parents gave me an understanding that we should not let any barriers or challenges stop us from reaching access to our education and our growth as leaders. So I always knew that I had this passion for justice for our community, that we should be treated fairly and have, equality, and that I should also be like they are, unstoppable about not letting anything come in my way. So when I was going to Smith College, we were asked, why do you people go to colleges? Like how could I dare to think I should go to a college like Smith? And then when I was in law school in my constitutional law class, my classmates said, oh, are the minorities only here due to affirmative action? So that gave me this sense of, in my soul, a passion for undoing racism and opening up barriers. So that is really a thread that has been woven throughout my entire career. Whether it was at McPeer, helping minorities to access contracts, or it was at the Workforce Board, helping minorities to access employment and training resources, or now in healthcare, where I'm opening access to healthcare resources for our people in the community so they can live healthy lives. It came from that core of my parents not accepting that we weren't getting the right education, not accepting that we weren't lawyers or judges, and not accepting that we didn't have scholarship money so we could go to college or go to higher education. That is at the core of who I am. One thing that I do in my life is I see where there are gaps, where there are voids. And then I know that I want to fill them. And that does require the entrepreneurial spirit to create something that's different and new. So when I came to USC, I was on the board in the 90s, and then our executive director had to retire. So when I came here, I saw the value of the core of the company, that we had a strong, well-educated workforce and who are committed to their work. But I then saw these other possibilities of growing SE into not just a full post-acute continuum, but into a population health management company. And that came because I kept seeing gaps and I knew that we could do more. And so I built and created a new company, NE Healthcare, medical. So I added medical, and then I added virtual services, and then I started to create something that is unique and virtually no organizations have what we have now. But it is that, seeing where there are gaps and you're going to conferences and seeing, wait a minute, we don't have Latinos doing this work, so we need to be there. So it is out of that, is learning where we're missing access to resources in our communities and rural areas. And that's what led me to grow ASI and new services that will come. Yes, it's out of seeing where we're missing things. That creates the entrepreneurial spirit. When I came to SC, I was working 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. So I did let go of many aspects of my life in order to focus on transforming the organization. The organization was dying when I started to lead it, and that does take complete dedication for a period of time until you turn around the organization and gets onto stable ground. I have a vision around helping all Latinos in Illinois to have health equity. And that means taking the extra time to find out what organizations I should be a part of and how I can help them. It takes creating new organizations. It takes creating new systems. And yes, it does take sacrifice from my own personal life. And I actually haven't taken a vacation day in a few years. That's true, not even one. So it does take all of that dedication to the growth of our Latino communities, and I have that. Because I do want, again, all Latinos to have health equity, access to all the resources they need, education, training, healthcare, housing, everything that we need to live healthy lives. We should have equal access, and I will be unstoppable about that, yes. I have two goals for myself. One is to really develop what I'm doing, this population health management, so I can help Latinos not just in Illinois or Chicago, but throughout the country and throughout the world. I do continue to see gaps. When I was in Puerto Rico recently, there are many gaps to healthcare that exist there. There are gaps in Guatemala or Ecuador or of course Mexico to healthcare. So I'd love to be able to do more to help our communities wherever they are in the world. So that's one goal. My second goal is to be a corporate director. I have been on the board of a for-profit corporation, again, the board of a hospital, but I would like to help on a larger level to be a voice for Latinos in corporate boards. Too few of us are on those corporate boards. We have, Della Cepeda and Alonzo and others, and thank goodness we have them. But I believe we need our voice at the table at the corporate level. So that is a goal of mine, to be on a corporate board as well, to have a larger impact. And I would say third, I am doing more on the national level. I hadn't thought I would be at the national level, but I am. I'm on a national task force. I'm helping create a national long COVID summit. So I'd like to have more of a voice on the national level as well, to speak up for our Latino community, for healthcare, for employment and training, and more. Well, I am grateful to my parents for showing me the way, because it took a lot of bravery for them to be where no one had gone before. My mother helped to name schools after Latinos, Whitney Young and civil rights leaders. My parents were just unstoppable and unconditionally committed. No matter what happened to them, they kept moving forward. And I'm very blessed to have had them as my example. And I hope that I can also be equally unstoppable about lifting up our community.
And this is how we celebrated the Maestro Awards in Chicago 2023. We are so proud of these great leadership stories, and we want to congratulate them for the role model that they represent for all of us in our community. I want to say thank you to our sponsors again, Southwest Airlines, San Agustin College, JP Morgan and Chase Company, and Intercambio Express. Also, our supporters like Monterey Security, BMO, and ASI. On behalf of me and my team in Latino Leaders Magazine, thank you for being with us, and congratulations to all the awardees in these Maestro Awards in Chicago 2023.